What's going on, guys? It's Scott with Sterner Firearms.
And Ryan with Shooter Media Outlet.
So, round two.
Round two. We are back as promised.
Yep, and no SIGs were harmed in the making of this video.
That's a fact.
And we definitely did not whack it with a hammer, so.
Yeah, to clear the airwaves, we actually did no testing whatsoever.
Nope.
With the X5 that we have.
Picture work, though, because you're watching it.
Fact.
I mean, first and foremost, being here in a gun store, I've already had two people ask me, how do we go about getting these voluntary, I guess they call them upgrades now. It's
Yes,
not
this
even
is
a
an
replacement,
upgrade
it's an upgrade
program for the P320.
So, I mean, just to kind of get this out in the video, you're going to go to sigsauer.com and then go right to their support page, and they actually have the voluntary recall, upgrade, or whatever you want to call
Program,
it.
yeah.
And it's kind of what we had already feared from the first video that we did in terms of, you know, like if this is your only carry gun, you're kind of out of luck for a while.
It's going to be gone for a little while, about 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's what they're claiming on their site now. With my, you know, shipments and things that have happened in the past for, like, you know, really hot sellers or things that are not in allocation, I mean, if a lot of people really send these in for the recall,
It's going to bump the time up,
I'm going to
for
assume
sure.
you're not looking at 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Now, I mean, I am going to give credit to SIG. They did own up to this relatively fast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we were a little apprehensive about, you know, saying, okay, you know, 5 days from the 14th when we had originally posted the video. That's kind of a long time to come up with a response, but with all the, you know, mechanisms, inner workings of a pistol, I think that's to be expected where they're going to have that amount of time to
There's a lot to
culminate a
look
good
at, yeah.
response. Okay, so, I mean, looking at the site, I mean, what are the three things, or I guess there's 4 things now that they're looking to change out for the Sig P320 models?
Basically, a lighter trigger, the sear, the striker assembly, and
The mechanical disconnect.
the
right?
mechanical disconnect, yeah.
I think I mean, obviously the whole thing came about with the trigger being the issue.
The weight of the trigger.
So we were looking at the flat versus the curve, and, you know, reducing the weight on that was going to help everything out with that.
Right.
Now, obviously other videos have surfaced, and that's why we did this little
Right.
thing here, just to raise awareness. Guys, if you have a P320, don't beat it with a hammer. And I caught slack for some of the memes that I put out there, kind of going after some of the 2A community that was doing this. I think it's super, super irresponsible.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people that are, you know, high-profile accounts that are whacking these things with hammers or doing their own drop tests. They're not claiming whether it's actual live ammunition or it's, you know...
I think that was one thing that should have been clarified in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of these companies have been using blanks and stuff, but then, I mean, you see some
Or
of
just
these
a primed case, too.
a prime case, or they are full-blown doing drop tests, but they're in controlled environments.
Right.
You know, there should be all these disclaimers that are out there, but...
Yeah, because we don't want to false advertise anything like that and then have somebody watching a YouTube video go and do something like this with live ammunition and end up hurting. Because that's just going to make this whole situation 10 times worse.
Exactly. Now, there was a method to my madness of, you know, bringing that up, because the one video that surfaced that started bringing out more of these defects in this pistol was one of the gentlemen was using his own hammer and tapped the back, and it went boom.
Right.
So that proved that it wasn't just the trigger, but it's kind of an inconclusive test in itself. I mean,
Agreed.
You're looking at so many different factors. You're looking at inertia. You're looking at everything else that's going to make everything come together to happen.
Right.
So then you start seeing a whole rash of videos coming out where they're doing to the HKs and the Smith & Wessons, like the Shields, and a lot about the Glocks.
Right.
Now, the one thing that, and we will get, like, you know, closer footage of this with the Glock. I mean, I don't think a lot of people, and just dealing in selling firearms, a lot of people really don't understand that there are safeties on a Glock.
Right.
You know, everyone's so, you know, when they think of safety, they think of the little button going up and down and showing, you know,
Oh,
prominent.
the red circle there. It means it's, yeah, I know.
It means you're good to go.
Right.
No, the Glocks are a little bit more intricate with that, where they have the 3 different, you know, safety features to it.
Right.
But we'll get a close-up of what I'm talking about, which is why they didn't fail the drop test. And it's actually funny, because I was recently at a Glock Armor's course, and they had pumped out this informational video about how Glock came to be. And before all this ever came into play with, you know, these, you know, strike fire pistols being dropped and, you know, going off, they actually dropped them from helicopters.
Unbelievable.
And they never misfired. They never fired.
Right.
So looking at the mechanics of it, and I really wish we had a cutaway Glock that we could show all this here. it shows why the inertia doesn't affect that, why the trigger doesn't depress back, and all the other fun stuff that's involved. So I think it's interesting. You know, out of all the different firearms that were tested too, it was still only the Sig that was having these issues.
Right.
So that's why they're looking at, you know, replacing or upgrading.
Right.
Sear.
I'm not sure if this list, I mean, this, from what they're saying, will correct the problem. I mean, it does say in the owner's manual that the pistol itself could potentially, you know, fire if dropped. I mean, there is that disclaimer.
Well, and they're still saying too, like, they followed all the standards, which in theory they did.
They did, right?
But,
so we can't fault Glock, yeah, Sig. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault them for that because, I mean, they got by on that type of
It passed testing. It did, so.
Yeah. But the main thing, too, is, I mean, we had customers asking, too, like, does this affect all the models?
Yeah, and it does.
And it does. It actually affects all the P320 models, so you're encouraged to send all this stuff in. And, you know, the thing that I'm going to say that I really like about Sig 2 is they're owning up to, you know, they're going to ship both ways, they're going to cover all that.
Yeah, this is free. The upgrade program, it's on them.
It's going to be a very, very expensive run for them. I mean,
oh yeah,
some of the reports I was looking at, they're looking at almost $50 million based upon how many P320s have gone out in the market.
Right.
Versus how many people might return them. Obviously, it's still going to be in working order for you. There's no other issues with the you know, safety to them, other than if you drop them.
Right.
And it's a very realistic possibility. I mean, people can drop them, you know, loading them up in the range, which is how this whole thing came about.
Right.
It was there was somebody that worked in that realm of, you know, that, what did he do? He took his pistols, he was loading them back into the SUV, fell out, shot himself in the knee.
Was it in the holster or did it fall out?
It was in the holster.
That is surprising.
So it was in his holster, it dropped, hit, he ended up getting shot, he's gone through all these different surgeries and stuff,
right.
And that's when this really started coming to be. And that's a crappy way to find out that, you know, a mass-produced pistol is
not drop safe.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, how many people too would, like, really own up to the fact that they dropped their gun and discharged.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, there might be even more cases out there that we don't even know, because it's like, shame on me for, you know, being this, you know, Second Amendment super safe person.
Exactly.
And this debacle happens. That's scary. So I mean, we can go down the line here a little bit.
I was just saying another
pinpoints
thing to touch on too would be this has to be performed. The upgrade program has to be performed by Sig. You can't just take it to a local gun shop and have somebody work on it. So that was something I wanted to just kind of touch on.
That's an excellent point, because there were definitely people that were saying, like, you know, well, hey, if I take it to my local gun store, I don't have to do the 4 to 6 week thing. No, it's their warranties, their product, you know, if something happens again.
Yeah, it's on Sig. Yeah.
And for being, you know, from my own perspective, I don't want to be liable for any of that.
Right.
You know, last thing is I put in, you know, something incorrectly and somebody drops in the parking lot leaving.
Right, not saying you will, but, you know, just the whole being liable.
Yeah.
You know.
And this is why they've gone through such great measures. They're going to be spending buku amounts of money to make this work. Now, the other thing that I did note here too with with their kind of like frequently asked questions is the types of ammunition that were tried on this. Because we had a lot of people that were going through the viral videos trying to debunk, saying, oh, it only happens if it's a remanufactured ammo or if it's, you know, a reload or whatever it might be. It's like, no, they've tried damn near every single ammunition, and, you know, whether it's brass, it's steel, it's aluminum, they've tried it all and it's still the same outcome. So, I mean, there's a lot to be spoken for with that. I mean, they've gone through the gambit of trying to figure out everything else is happening.
Right.
And obviously we talked about all the series, you know, they're even including the X series in this, and even the Cal X kits here.
Yep.
You should send any of the slides and all the stuff that you're shipping in, so the strikers can be replaced, and then the slides need the disconnector cut.
Right.
So
there's a good bit of modification being done to the pistols then when they get back to Sig. And we're just kind of going over all this right now to kind of clarify and just go with, you know, all of the subscribers and anybody who's looking for this information. Maybe, you know, in a video, I'm hoping that we can kind of give you.
And don't send anything back with aftermarket parts. It will be kicked back.
Will it?
So magazines, anything you have that's aftermarket, put it back to its factory.
So if you're running an Apex trigger,
put the other trigger back in.
Put the stock trigger back in.
They're not going to touch it.
Yeah, I guess slide releases, any type of mag release, anything like that. Put the gun back into its stock configuration.
Because you're always running the risk. I mean, their whole thing is if you start putting in aftermarket stuff, you're now changing what their specifications are.
Right.
And they're not going to be liable for that.
Exactly.
If you decide to monkey around with something and ends up causing the discharge to happen.
Right.
It's not on them anymore. It's now on you.
Exactly.
And that's the risk you're always going to run putting in aftermarket stuff. I mean,
Right.
that's a lot of times. I mean, even High Point has it where they void warranties if you put their different magazines in. If you don't put their actual magazine in,
It makes sense, you know. I mean, they spec'd it out with their stuff, so
yeah. And definitely the other thing too is, I mean, this is at zero cost for you guys. So I mean, you're shipping everything else, all the parts. I don't know how that works. I mean, I guess if you're going through an FFL, it's just going to be
yeah. Actually, we
gunsmithing.
can touch on that right here.
You actually have to send in the entire pistol.
Yeah.
So I mean, it obviously doesn't matter if they're covering the shipping for free. You're not going to skirt weight and try and get under the
Exactly.
$30 mark. You're just going to ship it out. They're going to cover it.
Right. And once you go through the upgrade, once you go to the page where the upgrade program is on SIG's website, they will ask for your serial number and your home address. Once you send that to them, they will contact you with the best method to get the firearm from you to SIG.
Yeah, and my best guess is they're probably going to give you one of those like RS labels, like the prepaid labels that they'll just email to you. You slap it into a box and go.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, overall, like I said, I think they're very proactive steps. They definitely, had to address all these issues.
Right.
From people, whacking with a hammer to doing the drop test and everything else in between. I mean, that actually showed there was more issues than one.
Oh yeah, and I think they covered it. I mean, with the upgrade program, I really do think they're trying to cover every aspect of all the testing.
Yeah.
And
we had questioned that too. I mean, in our first video, we wondered if it was only the trigger, if there was something, there was more of an underlying meaning.
Right.
And obviously with these fantastic hammer tests that are popping up all over the internet,
They're everywhere.
That was kind of the case.
What was the NRA calling it? The SIG NATO or something like that. Unbelievable. And it did get out of hand there for a little bit. I mean, it really did. Became a meme really fast.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, guys, just don't whack your guns. I mean, just if it's a P320, there's going to be an issue. You don't need to prove it for yourself because I'm just seeing too many videos pop up, and that's so dangerous for what people are really trying to do.
And it's going to keep happening now for at least, I don't want to say a month, but I mean, it's that.
Well, we're going to have a whole rash
that
of
ripple,
coming back out.
the ripple effect. Yeah, I know.
It's going to happen when the guns come back.
Right.
You're going to see the first reviews of people getting their P320 back, and they're going to drop
Beating the heck out. Yeah.
And heaven forbid it happens again. Like, oh my God, that's just going to be ridiculous.
It's coming. I mean, no, I'm not saying that there's going to be a malfunction, but the tests are coming.
Yeah.
They are.
We're going to get some footage of like showing what like the Glock safety is, and we're not going to get in depth with all three of the safeties. I mean, you're looking at the firing pin safety and the assemblies and then the trigger safety itself. We're just going to show you the trigger safety as to why this is not falling back with inertia.
Right.
And going from there. So overall, I mean, I think that's about it. We hit on a lot of what we're trying to get out to the public here.
Right.
And we're super happy that we were able to get little snippets on Omaha Outdoors.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So we'll post their secondary video link in the description as well.
Yep.
It's definitely a good thing to look at, and they're going to talk a little bit more about their follow-up, which was really good knowledge.
Yeah.
And
that's what turned us on to this whole thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Omaha Outdoors, so that was awesome.
Yep. So if you guys are watching this, we appreciate it.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But yeah, we'll cut over here to the Glock and give a little explanation of that and wrap it up.
Exactly.
So just to give a brief, overview here, I mean, I'm not going to get into the drop assembly safety and the firing pin safety, but we will get into this here and just to show you guys, since everyone on YouTube likes to freak out that this is loaded firearms. It is not. Glock trigger safeties. I mean, this is the big misconception. It's like, oh, well, Glock doesn't have the the manual thumb safety. The reason why these don't fail the drop test based upon the inertia and all the force coming down when this drops straight down with the bore axis facing up is because it has its own trigger safety in here. So this stacks on top of the other two safeties to make this a very well-rounded pistol and very safe pistol. This right here is basically what your safety is. So if you see this little notch moving in here, when that's fully depressed, it comes up and allows the trigger to be swung back. When it's not, you don't have the ability for it to come back. So that's how that works. Now, if you look over here with the SIGs, okay, and then real quick, just to show this guy's completely unloaded as well. So the difference between what you're seeing with that and a Glock is there's no actual trigger safety built into this. There's no lip, there's no ledge. So obviously if there's enough force applied, now this is the flat trigger, meaning this is a lighter trigger weight. So the inertia is obviously not going to affect it nearly as much, but it's the law of, it's physics, it's the law of motion. What goes in motion tends to stay in motion. So if this was to fall down, if this is a heavier trigger, it should fall back like that and keep moving with the energy. So that's why we're seeing, with these Sig models that this isn't, it's a possibility of happening. Whereas obviously, like I said, with the Glock, if you don't press down on this, this trigger isn't going anywhere. But obviously if you do press down, it allows the trigger to go in full swing towards the back of the firearm. So that's just very basic, not getting into the crazy semantics and how all the three of the, the safeties work in a Glock.
No, there was questions that we did receive was why is the Glock and some other striker-fired pistols not failing the test? So
yeah.
I mean, this does kind of clarify.
And this is why you see those videos resurfacing from Glock dropping these guys from helicopters and everything else, and they're not having any issues. This is just a very basic rundown as to the comparison of the two, why this trigger safety works better versus why that's in full motion going back. So there you go. That's kind of just, not really opening that can of worms.
Yeah, kind of touched on everything.
Yeah, just little bits here and there. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you need some extra help, if you guys know me here from the firearms store, you can send us a call or a message. We can help you run through what you have to do. But obviously, we can't work on them here, and we're not going to ship them out because Sig's going to do it on their dime.
Exactly.
But yeah, very basic rundown. I can't emphasize that enough. I'm not trying to get into the crazy semantics. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to break down all these different tolerances and everything else. This is just get a quick informational video out there. If you guys want to see things more in depth about the Glock safety and everything else, there's more YouTube videos.
Exactly, and Omaha Outdoors does a great job breaking down and really debunking everything with the P320. So after watching this video, if you find one of theirs, definitely go watch
Absolutely.
some of their content. It's great.
Yep. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll be cranking out some more content here.
I'm probably going to be sending mine back here shortly. I'm actually going to register it after we make this video. I'm going to register mine and see what Sig says. So
yeah, it'd be interesting. We can do part 3 of that then when you get it back and to see how happy you really are with the upgrades.
Right, and I actually have a review of this pistol in and of itself, and we will check the trigger pulls, maybe go run it at the range and see what happened, if anything.
I get first whack at it.
All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go check out this guy.
Yeah, we'll put all of our links in the description.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got to get those 100 subscribers.
Working on it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching.
Take care.